So welcome back to the Incubation Talk, and today we're talking to Alexander Fernandez. Thank you for being here. And
Thanks for having me.
So would you mind, I don't know if people
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you, so maybe you can introduce yourself?
Yeah, no problem. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alexander Fernandez. I'm the CEO of Streamline Media Group, as well as Streamline Studios. Been making games for 17 years. The company originally started in Hilversum 17 years ago. We were up in Amsterdam up until about 2010, and then we relocated the company to Kuala Lumpur. So I'm here to talk to you guys today about everything and anything that has to do with making money in games. And if you really want to know how to make money in games, we should really talk. Because, one of the things that I'm going to tell you right now, it's no one's job except you to make money. No one's going to help you. No one's going to basically think your game is awesome. No one cares. That's just the games industry. You and 2 billion people. So, I'm just going to be really frank with you, not to be rude, but I just want to be clear because, I think a lot of times people blow smiles up your ass. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you what it takes to actually survive in this business. And it is a business. So that's where I'm coming from. If you don't like it, too bad. The door's right over there. So it should be fun. So kind of a quick thing about Streamline. I started this company with 4 friends inside of a 70 square meter apartment back in 2001. We're at a place called the Carl Dormanland, so it still exists. It looks like a tenement block over there in Hilversum. That's where we were at. And we struggled to basically run this business because we came from the mod scene of the early or late 90s, I should say. Kind of tells you how old I am. We made a game called The Gunman Chronicles, which was the first mod gun retail product. Valve Software picked it up, and then it was published pre-Steam, pre-anything. So at the time, there was no digital distribution. There was only publishing. There were no indies. It was called independent studios. And basically, you had to fight to survive. Tech demo would cost you $250,000 to $1 million just to make a vertical slice. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about actual cash in order to make the businesses run. So back in 2001, that's what we found ourselves in. And in order to keep making our way of life happen, we started Streamline with the idea that we'd actually do content creation for other people, in this case what you guys now know as outsourcing, and that would help us fund our developments, and that's effectively what we did. 17 years later, we went from 4 guys in a house to 238 people with offices all over the place, making some of the biggest games in the world right now. So that's what we do. But I can tell you, we started $15,000 inside of a bedroom apartment and 8 guys living there, which smelled like shit most of the time. Yeah? Shall we start? All righty, let's get into it. So let's get into this. So first off, how many people here actually make games? Right? You're all game developers, right? Okay, how many of you are actually making any money on it? Okay, I got one guy in the back.
I once made a few bucks.
Okay, well that's, that's the first start. You know what, as long as you can buy like a Stidipin cart, which they don't even sell anymore, there you go, that's good enough. So, yeah, you made it how much? Cool, that's awesome. So you're on your way to being Trump. He also made only a couple cents, and now he's the president of the United States. So here we go. Now, big dreams. That's a joke right there. Okay, let's look at this. So here's the thing. The dynamics of the games industry is very interesting. You take all the risk. Let's be clear. No one's going to take the risk for you, meaning that you got to find a way to basically hustle that ass to make that money to fund that demo. Right, and these demos now are pretty cheap. You can make a demo relatively cheap for about $50,000, and I mean relatively cheap because ultimately the game sizes, you can make a game for $500,000 or you can start going up into 10s, 20s, and $30 million games. What it really comes down to is first understanding what type of business you are, and I'm only going to talk to you about that. I don't want to hear about the creative passion or about how you slave away making the best Mario. That's great. You can tell that to your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Don't tell that to me because I know that's bullshit. I know what it really comes down to is that if you're going to make that work, you're going to start to understand the dollars and cents, or in this case, the euros and pounds once they're still back, to figure out what it means to actually keep your operational costs going. So let's talk about this right here. Does anyone have more than 5 people on their team that you're actually paying? Is anyone actually making payroll? Is anyone actually paying anybody? Anyone actually paying a salary? Is everyone here pretty much just living on whatever they can get? Yeah, okay, that's good. That's fine. Okay, freelancing is fine. So basically, then you understand the basic economics of how much it costs you to basically survive, right? When we did Streamline, it took us, I didn't make my first paycheck until 2003, and the company had been running for well over 2 years. We lived off €1,000, and we fed 8 people. So Carl Dormanland, for those that may or may not know this, it's 70 square meters, and at the time our rent was about 700 euros a month. So we could basically pay 700 euros, which covered our cost of living, and then the rest of the money went to food. So every month when we had money, it was great because we ate more than just basically ham, cheese, and rice. But we pretty much paid for the company on our own hard sweat and starvation. That's how we did it. So, I mean, that's how you do it. Let me be clear. Because the thing is, like, all the schemes that you just saw, like, I'm sure you guys were looking at the different things that are there, and you might think, like, oh, 8 months, then release a game, and then hopefully be proven. Those are great when you've gotten there, but you guys are not there yet, which means you have to prove yourself still that you can even be a viable entity. The only way that's going to happen is by basically funding your costs completely on yourself. Now, I'm not telling you to run off and get a credit card or get a bank loan because you'd be totally retarded to do that. Don't do that. What you're going to do is basically pay for it by just absolutely keeping your costs down to the bare minimum. And if possible, rent yourself a flat, get all the people that are working on your team, shove them into the house, and basically work really hard to get that one thing out the door. And what I mean by one thing, I'm not talking about a demo. Get an actual game out the door because you need a game. That's how this starts. It doesn't work with a tech demo because a tech demo just shows like, oh, you're capable. But the problem now is that anyone can make a tech demo. Realize that with the advent of Unity and basically making games as easy as templating, anyone can make a game. At least that's what we tell each other. The reality is that when we were doing it, there was none of this. You actually had to know what you were doing. So because of the fact that you're going up against a billion other people who can just spend 5 weeks on Unity and now you've made a game, that doesn't separate you from anybody else, which basically means you have to ship. That's the ship part about where you guys are at right now, is that you have to ship a game. Whereas before, we had to make a demo and kind of ship, but the reality is everyone knew there was no way you're going to pay $5 million for what we had because the reality is no one had $5 million. You now have to get over the hurdle of showing that you can by just doing it. Does anyone not understand what I just said? You get what I mean, right? Shipping. Meaning it's live, I can download it, I can play it, it's actually interesting. Whether it's any good or not, who cares? It's in the eye of the beholder, but the fact that you've done it means you've gone through the first cycle, and the first cycle will prove itself. So if you're wondering about how much is that going to cost you, it's really easy. You take the cost of you and your friends living in that apartment, and you basically start to work backwards on your numbers. And if that means one of you's got to work at Albert Heijn or effectively work at McDonald's, that's what you're going to do. You moonlight during the day, and then you basically work at night. That's how we did it.
When you say ship products, do you mean like a complete finished game? Because
I mean the game is out that I can download it on Steam. That's what I mean. Which means it's not going to be your opus. It's not going to be the one game that you really, really care about that you're going to bleed and die for. It's going to be one of many that you'll bleed and die for. The thing is, what you got to get into your mindset is that it's not about making one game. It's about making many games. It's about playing. Think about this. You entered into the casino. You went up to the roulette table. Now you're playing numbers.
yeah,
And one of them's going to hit or none of them are going to hit. But you have to figure out how long you can keep gambling until you hit that one that works.
Yeah.
But you have to play it. That's really, I mean, I know how shocking that sounds. Because it's like, that's the mental image. I mean, I would only put it in there, guys. It's like this. It's roulette or it's like shooting craps. You know, the dice, throw the hand. And every hand is either a $5 hand, a $2 hand, or a $1 hand. But the reality is you just need enough money to shoot the hand. And then you keep going. You keep playing the game.
like some of us, or at least me, I'm working on a pretty big project.
Yeah,
As the first one.
absolutely.
Is the fact that going through the process, although you sort of take like an abstract of what your game is and make that into a different type of game.
So here's the thing. It's not about taking what you want to make and making it shit. It's about taking what you love, but realizing that whatever it's going to take to fund that, you're going to do. So if your game's going to take 10 people for 24 months, then you're going to have to go convince 10 people to work for 24 months for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Or you're going to go out and get yourself a job to pay those 10 other people meager wages, subsistent wages to get them there.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like this, like, let's be frank about the money that's available for game development in Holland. There isn't any. Let's talk about a bank that's not going to give you any money. It took me 4 years to convince ING to give me a bank after convincing MGM to put up a letter of intent. And I leveraged the hell out of it to basically get that in there. And I got 250,000 euros from them at the time, which was a quote-unquote shitload, but not much, because considering the fact that the demos were still costing north of $250,000, or sorry, more than $500,000. So the thing is here is, like, you have to start looking at the financial aspect of what it is that you're making. And you got to ask yourself, is it going to come through sweat equity, through the people basically just brutalizing themselves? Or are you going to basically get that job at, H&M or whatever you do? Hopefully more than that. I don't know. I use these basic jobs because, honestly, money's money. Wherever it comes from, who cares? As long as it gives you the time to focus on making the game. That's really all this is about. It's not about being pretentious or I need this or that. You don't need shit except to make the game, right? And that's the mindset I'm going to try to put this in all of your guys' head. It's whatever it takes. There is no comfort. There is no, I go home at 5. Bullshit. You go home never. Whatever it takes.
You go home when it's
You
done.
go home when it's done.
Yeah.
That's just it. You go home when it's done. I used to date a girl. She used to come over to this house in the Carmel dorm in London. I'll never forget this. She would come in, 70 square meters. There's 8 of us. I slept underneath the desk. And when we would go to bed, it would be me, her, my brother, my roommate. That's how we slept. That's what it was. Underneath, fucking hell, this room was the size from here to her. That's what it was. And we worked and lived from there. But that's what it took. Because we had no money. 0. So that's the thing. And that's why if anyone tells me that it can't be done, I'm like, bullshit, I'm here. It can. I did it. And I can do it with being a foreigner in this country with nothing. That's why I know it can happen.
I worked before with a team on a game. We formed a studio, but it collapsed. When we just worked together, we were all together in the same space, and we were really motivated. But then, when it went well, we had to work from home, and it went really bad. Did you mention that you worked with your team in the same place for this?
I've had the same team for 17 years, and we lived together up until 2006. So I lived with these guys from 01 to 06. We had office starting in 03. And then we just kept growing the company. Here's the thing about when it goes well. When it goes well, that's when you go crazy.
Before that,
yeah.
when you were with them and they worked, did they go straight from work to that place to continue on the game?
Oh no, I was the only one that worked.
Right.
I had the time. I came to Holland because I got headhunted to do IT. So I was making retarded money in IT, and then I was funding everything else. And then once I decided to go full time, I just stopped working, and then we just went with no cash.
But you all worked at the same place almost.
No. You mean physically?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, always.
So how did you convince people to work together for 8 months at the same place and to give up everything else?
At that point it was 3 years.
Yeah.
You did it because of necessity, because we wanted it. It was as simple as this. Do you want to make it or not?
So where do you find these people? Because most people that I find, they won't be committed enough.
So that's the great point. That's a great question. How bad do you want it? That's all it is. The answer is how far you're willing to go. And whoever works with you is willing to go that far. Because honestly, there's no other answer to it. You have to be as delusional as the next person that wants to do it with you.
Are you the one that started this?
I'm one of them. I'm one of the 3 founders that started the company.
And you were all really dedicated?
I was 20 years old. I'm 37 now. So, yeah, pretty much.
So before you started, you made sure that everyone's super dedicated?
As dedicated as it can be. Because this is not an easy ride. And I want to basically make this really clear to you guys. It's like, there is no magic. It's hard work. It's brutalizing yourself. It's basically treating yourself like an animal, because that's effectively what you become. That's what it takes.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Here's the thing regarding partnership and finding people. If you don't have people that want it as bad as you do not partner with them. That's it. You can't.
Short and simple.
I'm just telling it to you right now. That's how it is. It's like getting married. Ouch. You can do it the other way and then find out how shitty that is. So there you go.
Thanks.
I have a question because I did it in a different way than you did. So you went for the starvation mode and basically go for it all in, but then not a lot of money. And I chose to have a side job and to try to do it at night.
Oh, perfect.
But the problem I have now with my tactic is that it's hard to keep focus on the same thing because I work in IT and I have a pretty difficult job during the day. Yeah. So for me, it's difficult to I'm already tired when I get home and to sort of motivate myself to do it at night. Yeah. So looking back, do you think it's better to go all in and starve yourself, basically the road you chose, or to go for the other
to be honest with you, I don't think one is better than the other. The only difference was a combination of how much time you have in front of you.
Yeah.
I was 20. the hell else am I going to do? I'm living in Holland. I'm 20 years old. It's the bar, getting high, or chasing women, or video games. Really, those were the only options at the time. So, I mean, that's what I saw. So video games was it. And so we just did that. But I'll be honest with you, because the thing is, what else was he going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
you don't have responsibilities
I had
yet, so it
none.
was
I had
easier.
none at the time. And the thing is, with this, like, I'll put it this way: at 37, with a daughter and a wife, it would be different.
Yeah.
Be completely different. At the same time, I think the key thing here is the balance between living what you want to live and doing something that you kind of like. That's really what it comes down to. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would always say be responsible, because if you have responsibilities, those aren't going to go away. They're going to be there. But if you can incorporate that into your life, then go for it. But I think in the end, entrepreneurship, and because that's really what we're talking about, that is either energy or giving a lot up. So it comes down to how you look at your life. And for me, not being underneath someone's thumb was more important to me than how much money I made.
Yeah.
So your first job, you made your first game, shipped it. You said it was.
I was 13 when I had my first
was
job.
13.
I was 13. I lied about my age. I convinced people that I was 16 years old. This was the early 90s. It was Utah, which is like Fernandez at the time, except we had nothing. There was at least civilization around those people. And basically, just told them that I was 16 and started working.
And they believed you.
Yeah, computers weren't connected like they are now.
Oh, right.
You have this thing, Social Security, you have a card, like your BSN number, or what's the SOFI number back in the day, and basically those didn't talk to each other. So you could get away with anything.
And so you made the game, and
Yeah.
how did that brought you to the point that you didn't want to have any boss anymore?
I had some shitty bosses when I was working. So, I mean, when you're young, you begin to realize that you think, especially if you have an attitude problem, which I clearly do. So I was like, oh, this guy's a jackass. I'm not going to work for this guy. I'm never going to be this guy. Why would I want to do that? So I already knew quite early on that I did not want to have to deal with someone else's problems. And, it's one of those things that just kind of led me towards doing stuff. But I realized I had no money. So I had to work with other people. And I think the key was finding talented people who were just as passionate as I was, and being 20 at a time and space where, because I love, what blows me away about the Dutch Game Garden right now is like none of this existed. So we were doing entrepreneurship when we were being told, like, go get a job. Like that was the advice, go work for someone. Now it's like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? It's like, I starve, that's what I do. And then I happen to make money once in a while, so it was just different. But I would say that at that moment in time, it made the most amount of sense for us.
So what was the first game that actually made money for you?
Well, Gunman made money for Valve. And basically then, probably the one project that really kicked it off for us was Nightfire, the James Bond game that we did. We did that with Gearbox Software and EA. That was the one game. It was a big project for us at the time. And that really, at the time, our first project, we made $7,000. Then another project made $250,000, and they just started going up from there. So let's put it from this perspective: is that it took us from 2001 to make 7,000, and then by 2004 we were making close to 2 million.
But you were also with more people then, right?
Yes, it started to grow. I mean, when we crossed over 1 million, 1.2 million when we had about. Well, when we signed the project, we were 15 people, but we were 31 by the end of it. So we doubled in size. Yeah.
So you doubled in size, and then you shipped a couple of games.
Yeah.
And that convinced other people to either. Did you find investors to help you out, or no?
No,
Not
not at all. No. I mean, so here's the thing about this is that, convincing people is, do you want to make a game? Do you want to do what you love? Do you want to be a part of something that is very crazy and there's no guarantee? That's the sell. Because you can't promise, oh, you'll have a weekend, oh, you'll have daycare, none of that. No. You have to be real about what it is. It's like, this is probably going to fail, but we'll have a good time doing it. And you get those type of people. You need adventurous people. You need people who really want to do that type of thing. If they don't want to do it, then they're not for you. So you got to understand what it is, why you're doing it. So, it's funny because I was JP, and JP's over there. So I've known JP for my entire career. And the thing is, what's interesting about this is that we're talking like a bunch of old men over there in the other corner on the other side of this, and it's funny because we had I think better looking, thinner, more hair. It was fun, at then it was just crazy because there was no infrastructure. So you just kind of ran around and did whatever you needed to do. And, you know, when I'm thinking now, 17 years later, if I look at the main beats that really got us here, it had nothing to do with being particularly talented or the best. It just came down to how bad were we wanting it and how bad were we willing to work and how much effort did we put into it. Because I'll tell you, so this, like, there is nothing else outside of effort. It's pure freaking effort to do it. That's it. Because I would love to tell you I was the smartest or the best. We weren't, and we're not. But we're hardworking, I'll tell you that, and that's what's going to win every time.
Hello, JP. I just want to add to it because I know you guys since your beginning. I know another thing that you didn't mention, maybe at least not now, is you guys are really good at relation building.
Yeah.
You guys are relationship builders, and I think you got a lot of jobs also because people liked you.
Yeah, true.
Because you invested in relationships.
Yeah.
Friendships.
Yeah.
I think friendship and business runs
parallel, absolutely.
especially in the game industry. I think more than maybe more so than other industries.
That's a good point.
And what we call the gun factor in the Netherlands, that people are willing to grant you a project because they can choose between three parties, but you have a relationship with them. They like you. That's really valuable, and I think you guys spent a lot of time building relationships.
No, that's true. I mean, actually, that's a very good point there because on that, we spent a lot of time when we could go to the show and have a good time with people. And the thing is, it is relationship based. And when we couldn't go to a show, it was just doing this. Like, I think our first year we spoke at the HKU. I actually remember that. And what the hell were we speaking at HKU for? We're 20. But you know what? We had something to say and we're willing to say it. And we actually met a lot of people from that event. Actually, a lot of people that worked with us, a lot of people that helped us in the future. Because I think in the end of the day, it's like this. Like, you can give away knowledge for free because, hell, that's what it's there for. But meeting people and networking and talking is actually, it's absolutely instrumental for all this.
Yeah, and your core team is still the same guys that
same
you
guys.
built a relationship with in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. No, that's a good point.
that was my addition to this whole.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. The effort part,
Yeah.
I get that. I really do.
Yeah.
Because you gotta want it really badly.
Yeah,
But you can work and work and work and bring
Yeah.
out the game. You can put it out there.
yeah,
But you gotta be seen.
yeah.
So what was the strategy there? How did you start with that?
Well, it's funny. It's JP actually sat there and he mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's like our first trade show actually was ECTS in 2001. We had just gotten our first show together. We had gotten our first project. This was in April. Then basically we went to ECTS. I think it was June. No, it was August. It was in August because it's Earl's Court, which is anyway, it's one of these places. But we were over there and. What happened is the strategy was we knew that we had to go meet people, but the only way to meet people is to go put yourself in front of them and be awkward and, attempt to make a relationship with someone you never met before. So it was like blind dating, except everyone's introverted, so it was even worse. It's like, it was like really, like seriously, it was weird. But, I'll never forget this, that the first show that we went to, people told us it was never going to work. I mean, I got laughed out of 3 booths. I got told that we're crazy, and I didn't know anybody. But I ended up in Midway's booth. There was a company called Midway a long time ago. This shows how old I am. So Midway, and there was a guy sitting across from me named Tim Gerritsen, who just started talking to me. He was an old-time veteran guy, and he was CEO of Human Head. So gave me some words of wisdom and shared knowledge, said, hey, don't worry, don't give up. And then I ended up at the Intel Developer Bar, which was free at the time. It was a bunch of free booze because we like to drink to get rid of the introvertedness. So learn to drink. If you don't drink, find someone who can. That's a tip for all of you. Learn how to do it. And I met Jay Wilbur there, which is one of the founders of Epic Games.
Wow,
So
great.
that was there. And it was just talking.
But, all right. So did you just kind of put yourself out there in general, or did you have a certain strategy of where you would go?
I was 20, dude.
Well,
I mean, I appreciate it, but like, I'm gonna tell you, like, it was called food, rent, and keep doing this thing. The strategy was, whatever made sense was go out there and talk to people, network, meet, spread the word of our business, tell them who we are, get in front of as many people as we could, because it's a volume game, right? You need to know a lot of people, then you got to maintain the relationships. But I would never use the word at 20 what our strategy was, because I mean, come on, I mean, I really wish, because there wasn't. I mean, I would love to tell you that we knew that, but we didn't. We just did what we thought was right, which was talk to people and keep coming back to them and showing them more stuff.
which is one of the things I find so interesting because you say we were just trying stuff, but by sitting here, I think we can learn a lot about what you did, what the things that you did that really helped,
Yeah.
and the things that you did that didn't quite work out so well,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to make the same.
Okay. So from there, let me put it that way then. So I would just say this: make your game, show the game to as many people as you can that are specifically publishers. Make sure that they remember you. So drink with them, eat with them, take them out, call them, get to know who they are. Rinse and repeat over and over and over again, and continue doing that until the product comes out. Or you get into something else and keep doing it over and over again. Like, I would really link it to dating. It's like the hottest girl or guy or whatever you like. That's what you target on, and you just keep going over and over again. There is no smart way about it, because just don't be a creep. Don't be creepy. Don't be a lurker. Don't be one of those weirdos that you don't want to talk to. But you have to put yourself out there and just talk. I mean, you have to be brave. And honestly, because remember one thing, everyone's as nervous as anyone else is. No one is, oh, I'm amazing, unless you're a jackass, at which point don't talk to those people.
Yeah, I get that. Thank you.
Yeah, don't be creepy, guys. Let me just put that out there. When you're out there networking, don't be one of those weirdos that get escorted out of the show. Yeah, put that right in there, and tell your mom to tell you that every day. Go ahead.
It's really nice the way you started, and it's really amazing. But I want to ask you, imagine that now you lose the company for whatever reason, no money, with all your experience. Would you like to stay on this industry, I guess?
I love video games.
Yeah, right?
I love it. Yeah.
So what would you do if you had to start over from scratch without a team? What kind of game will you build by yourself? I don't know if you are a developer or what kind of role you have inside the company. Well, imagine you have a team, very small team, and you need to start over with the experience you have now. What kind of game will you make, or what decision will you choose?
I mean, the thing is like this, I'll put it this way. I mean, this is a good question, because when we left Holland, we left because of the financial crisis, and we had to shut down Amsterdam. We had to close it down. And what it came down to is that we had a chance at that moment in time to really sit there and ask ourselves, do we want to be in this business anymore? It's brutal. It seems that you have to be young. You know, nothing's going our way. It's like, really, my life is Twilight, cut my wrists and die. I mean, fuck. It's like a French movie, everyone dies at the end, right? So we're like, okay. But we sat at the table, and we just kind of looked at each other and realized that we're really talented people on our own, but when we're together, we're more amazing. And when you come up with people for as long as we have, I mean, at that time, I'd been with these guys for 9 years. It's gone well past a partnership and a friendship. They're like my brothers. So there really wasn't anything else that I could think of doing. And if I looked at now that I have a child and all that, I would still work in games, because I think it's a great business to be in. It's a lot of fun, and I love all the passion of the people. I don't necessarily think that I would have the exact same business that I have now. I think what I would end up doing is basically working more with just young, creative people. I don't know if it would be exactly what I'm doing as much as what I would be looking at is more emerging markets. I'd be dealing more with Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, places where the games industry is just starting, because I think you'd see a lot of opportunities there. For me specifically, I like to build businesses. That's what I like to build. I like to build game companies. But if you get down to it, as much as I love making games, I love watching other people succeed. That to me is more interesting. So when I look at basically what I would personally do, I would just look at enabling other people, and have a hell of a good time doing that. Because I'm old. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like in this business, I'm like Buffalo. I'm gonna be dead soon, because the reality is it grinds through people. So I'm more from the standpoint that pass the knowledge on and see other people play the game. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it asked the question in a personal way.
So
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but it's because, for example, the development part for you is way behind a little bit, I think.
Well, nah. It's like you do what you're passionate about, but the thing is with this, I don't know how to do small. Let me put it this way: if we looked at just the games, we do AAA games. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We never did small. We were never interested in mobile. We were never interested really into tiny stuff, because that's just not what we grew up with. We grew up with big and crazy. Even though there's this revolution or this kind of, let's make all the 8-bit stuff, the 16-bit stuff
let
back.
me put it on another way.
Yeah, help me out.
No, okay. If you, for a new project,
Yeah.
a AAA game,
Yeah.
you go for a safe bet, like
Mhm.
let's do this that we already know that it's feasible as a business,
See,
or can we get a little bit more in the gambling zone to do something we don't have experience on it, and
Mhm.
for example, if you choose to gamble a little and do something you don't have experience or you don't know the market, how you make these kind of decisions, for example.
yeah, I would do free-to-play console then. I would go do free-to-play console. I'd just let it ride, and then I'd move to China and learn how to do it. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm going to put something right in front of you. If we basically look at places that I'm going to do something that I've never done before, I will look and find the place that's doing what I have not done before right, and then do whatever I can to get over there, to learn. That's what I would do. Mm-hmm. I would not be geographically locked. I would not put myself in a position where it has to be on my comfort. I would just go all in again. But I have that personality. Yeah. You know, mine is, fuck it, let's go. You know, that's who I am. You know, but if I had to look at it from a let's say, measured risk type of point of view, I would just start surveying the market. That's very technical and it's boring, and then I wouldn't be passionate about it. So actually, I wouldn't do that at all. I would do what I want to do. I'm motivated by my passion. I'm Latino, and I think you are too.
Yeah.
So estoy escuchando. So, yeah.
You kind of started answering that question
Yeah.
a few seconds ago, but I'm curious about your choice to move to Malaysia.
Yeah, Malaysia.
And, well, I assume it's very different there. Yeah.
No, I mean, they have water. I mean,
No.
It's beautiful. To be honest with you, Malaysia is a very beautiful place. It's nice temperature and good climate, good people, good food.
But you work with Malaysian
Yeah,
developers?
yeah, of course. I mean, I have 238 people, 60% of the staff are local, and then I have 48 nationalities. So I have people from all over the world coming to us too.
And how do you, there's no language barriers?
No, it was a British colony for, up until 60 years ago, the British ruled them. So it's English. It's like Singapore. Basically, it's like a Singapore. You know, the thing is, here's our problem, and I'll be honest with that, and this is more about like this, is that you have to take the fact that the games industry up until recently has been a very homogenous business. But the reality is that even though it's been homogenous, the art form of games has spread all over the world. It has influenced millions, if not billions of people. And it inspired a generation of people that we don't even realize have been making games for years, who want to be in this business so badly that they'll do whatever it takes. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have, at least as an industry, is that we predominantly think games to be Japanese, Korean, somewhat Chinese, maybe Indian, Western Europe, and the United States. But then usually we just think of Western Europe and the United States, which is a shame, because the reality is that there's this entire other market, the other 2 billion, that they're as ambitious and as passionate and artistic as everyone else, just as technical, and they're coming. And in fact, they're already here. So give me a good example here. When I was in Holland, and I lived in Amsterdam, basically, the cost of running 70 people was about, say, slightly under $500,000 a month, right, for payroll. For less than that, I would say for more than that, let's say double, if not almost triple, it'll cost you maybe 300, if that. So your costs change dramatically because the cost of living is dramatically different. But it's not like the people change. It's not like they're 2/3 less talented. They're exactly the same, which is crazy, which is something I would tell for all of you guys here, is understand. Global resources, global people, global talent, it's everywhere you go. What it comes down to is how smart and how much you're going to leverage that to get to where you want to go. You got to play the arbitrage. You got to play the world. Because you guys are growing up in a time when the games industry is completely global and you can go anywhere you want to go. So play that well, or else find yourself starving. And that's also the other side of it too. So just keep it in mind. And in Malaysia, what's interesting specifically is that they're in a place where they have what you call the 4 kingdoms. You have China, Japan, you have Korea, and you have the United States. And they all run through this area. It's a trading country, just like what the Netherlands was. So you have to basically work with all the different types of people. And knowing how to work with people is the key of this game. It's not just the game. It's the art of making the game and the game of making that game happen. You got to play it all. So just kind of keep it in mind, I'm not saying that you're not, but,
No.
just I want you to know that, because honestly, it'd be disingenuous for me to tell you otherwise. And the reality is that they're really good,
Yeah.
super talented, 2/3 the price.
Like how hard it was to open a company in Malaysia? Like
Not
is
hard
it
at
a lot
all.
of red tape,
Nope. Nope. I just showed up.
visas.
Nope. You can go there right now if you want to set up a company over there. I'll just tell you straight up. If you're willing to go over there and be a technical entrepreneur, you can set up. They'll give you 10 years visa.
Okay.
It'll take you less than a month to set everything up.
And the cost of living?
Cost of living is minimum 2/3 cheaper than here. I can tell you right now, I have a 1,440 square foot apartment, so 140 square meter apartment in one of the best parts of town. It's less than $1,000 a month. You let me know how math works. I'll tell you how it works. So, but you're asking. I'm telling you, because this is also the thing. It's like you have to become economically minded, because that is the game.
Sure.
You have to live. If you can't live on it, then it doesn't matter how passionate you are. As I used to tell my friend, it's like love's not going to feed me. As much as I'd love it to, but it doesn't. So got to be smart. The good thing is that you can leverage here for over there too. So just be smart on how you play the game.
Okay. And another very
Yeah.
different question. Do you still play games yourself?
I play all the time.
What's your favorite game?
Well, right now I'm
Right
playing
now.
Zelda because I
Zelda.
love it. I got myself a Switch and I'm hooked on it. So that's the one thing I can play that I doesn't feel guilty when I play it. Because I tried I was playing Street Fighter V with my daughter, and my wife's like, "Yeah, I don't think so." Which was the thing is, all the games we work on are pretty crazy. So I was like, "Okay, well, what will you like?" And she's like, "Can you get something that's less violent?" So I have one of those original NES systems. So I played Super Mario 2. I don't know if you guys ever played Super Mario 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Princess Peach. So I was like, my daughter was wearing a pink dress. So I'm like, "Oh, it's you. You're in a game." So try to find things that we can work on together, that we can play together with. That's important to me. So. Unfortunately, a lot of the games we work on are not kid-friendly, so clearly. So one of those things,
You started. You
Yeah.
had a lot of luck. In my opinion, you had a lot
Sure.
of luck with finding from the bat, finding such dedicated people who want to
true.
go
I get
through
you. You're blessed.
fire and
Yeah.
but what if you don't have those people?
Then you got to basically find a way to find those people, or convince other people to work with you. It's always going to come back down to an individual choice. You have to first believe it, and if you believe it, and then you can communicate that to someone else, you'll infect them with it. This sounds like some really Tony Robbins shit, but I'm telling you, it is truly inside of you. There is nothing else, because I have no explanation as to why it happened for us, other than the fact that we were crazy enough, young enough, ambitious enough, with some talent. My guys are talented, but the reality is everyone's talented.
Okay.
But just grind, and it was a grind. And of course, putting ourselves in front of other people, because the funny thing about passion is that if you find other people that are just as passionate as you are, whether they want to be in the same business or they're already in that business, it's kind of hard to say no to that person.
Yeah.
That's what starts to happen. And you know what? The people that are true believers, that honestly are the same as you, they will gravitate to you as well, and they'll start to pull you towards them.
Yeah.
That's also what happened. We were very fortunate. We met people that were like, "Wow, you're just like us. Come with us." That's what happens. This is what the games industry is. You think about it. It's like there's maybe 500,000 people that actually make a living on games. Maybe. But it makes a shitload of money. That's why they make so much good money. It's almost like this limited amount of people making a lot. They're like Jehovah's Witnesses. They're like, a couple thousand of us are going to go to heaven, the rest are going to burn. I don't know. It's like one of those things. Hopefully I didn't offend any Jehovah's Witnesses in this crowd. I forgot I'm in Holland. Nope.
No, it's I don't know. It's I think it's a thing I've been dealing with for the last couple of months. It's just everyone I seem to get on the team doesn't really
They don't have it?
doesn't seem to be as passionate about the thing as I am, and I'm still working on getting something out there and building this game. But at a certain point, I'm starting to doubt if I get past a certain point. Past a certain point in development, then I really start to need getting really dedicated people really soon, because otherwise this game is going nowhere. That's sort of the thing I'm dealing with.
So I think the thing is, you're running into this idea is like this, you're going to doubt yourself until the end. I still doubt myself. It happens all the time. So the thing is, first off, don't doubt. It's normal. No, I'm serious. Like, look, do you have a roof over your head? Yes. Did you have food? Yes. Right? You got clothes on your back. So, you don't go outside. There's not a war going on around you. So you breathe. You're fine. It will take as long as it needs to take to get your game out there, as long as you're willing to push the damn game out. I mean, I worked on one game. It took 8 years to get the damn thing out. Commitment's commitment. And commitment takes time. That's it. And I can tell you these pretty words, but I can tell you I lived every day of these 17 years. You see this on a website, oh, it looks fantastic. But there's 17 years of my life in here. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like, you know what, but I guess if I would have gone back in time and seen me and been like, hey, kid, 17 years of doing this shit, you really want to do that? I don't know.
Probably.
Oh, probably. Maybe I'd be like, oh, that's cool, lose some weight. You know what I mean? It'd be one of those things. But I would be very, I can't sit here and say it like this. Like, I feel for you, but I feel for you in a way where I'm like, the fun is just starting for you. I don't know how. Don't ruin it for yourself by not enjoying this time. Because I'll tell you, when you get to the other side, which you will, as long as you're committed to it, you will miss every day of it. Because I'll tell you, the best times was the hard times. All the other parts just meh. I miss this the most. I miss when it was us over there. I miss when it was just not knowing. Because the thing is, now I know. I know what it is. So don't be in too much of a hurry or critical of yourself to the point where you can't move. Life will kick you in the balls. Don't do it to yourself. No need.
No.
No need.
Plus, kind of hard.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised on that one.
It's like the classic cliche.
You can't give up, dude. Honestly, you can't. But the thing is, I'll tell you something. Like, put it from this way. You won't be the first. You won't be the last. And at the same time, like this, is that the interesting thing about going to conferences, where's the strategy guy? You. So you asked this thing in this. One of the most amazing things about going to the show is that you show up in cohorts, right? I think every show's a cohort. And you see how many people keep coming back year after year. And it drops. The LTV just drops like this. There is nothing. They're gone. And the next thing you know, you're the only person standing. And you're the only thing that's familiar. And you're the only thing that anyone wants to talk to. And guess what? It goes to you. Think of this as an endurance race. Don't think of it as a sprint. Or even more of it's a marathon. The winner will win by sheer brutality of getting to the fucking line, no matter how long it takes, because everyone else falls away. That's just the reality, because it's too hard, I guess. We make games, guys. Come on. I mean, shit. I make video games. What do? I make toys for rich kids. That's pretty much what it is. Simplifying it, but there you go.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't give up.
I have a kind of a different question.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask whatever you want.
Recently, I've been doing a course on innovation and how you can think more in a innovative sense.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they said was, if you have a startup, it's very different from an established company, because an established company is more like an oil tanker, which is very efficient and it goes to a certain
I'd love to
place
know what company they're working at.
Yeah, and then a startup would be more like a speedboat, which is more agile and tries out different things. But do you have certain things that are different now compared to when you started when it comes to certain choices? Are there certain things a startup needs to be more bold or more experimental?
Interesting. Yeah, the mental model I always had is basically like this, is that entrepreneurship's like basically just looking at a point in the horizon and just walking towards it, praying one day that maybe get a bike. Maybe that bike becomes a scooter. Maybe it becomes a junky car. Then maybe that junky car becomes a Ford. And then that Ford maybe becomes a Porsche. It's like in every step, you're building it as you go, right? So first you're pushing it, and then at one point it turns on. The thing is about being a startup or even just being an entrepreneur is that it takes first the life of you. It's whatever you are, whatever your personality is. That's what it feels like. So it's one of those great opportunities to be whoever the hell you want to be. And so if that is your alter ego, think of it that way. If you're Superman, you're Superman, Superwoman, go for it. But the idea is basically this, is that it is whatever you put into it. So it really needs to be something where, let's be clear about most companies, they're shit. No company runs perfectly well. It looks great, great marketing, great PR, oh, amazing on the outside, but you go inside, it's still the same rat-infested issues that happen in anywhere. The only difference is that they have to deal through 6 layers of hierarchy to say, oh, there's no food. Yes, we're going to die, you know. But we all knew that already, you know. Whereas in a startup, they're like, yeah, there's no food. Oh, well, let's keep going, you know, and you know that instantaneously. So I think what it comes down to is, you know, when you look at this, kind of these dynamics here in innovation, and I love it because there's always courses for things, but I'll save you some money. Let me just save you some money now. Unless you're getting paid for by that major, then take the course.
It was free, actually.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so, well, let me share it. I'll save you some more. You just have to do what you think is right. And you have to learn from it. And honestly, if you learn from all the mistakes, you'll be 10 times better off than anyone who never made one. I think that's the key. And don't be afraid to make those mistakes, and don't be afraid to just say, yeah, well, that was stupid. Let's do it again. Because we made a lot of stupid mistakes. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong here. Everything from payroll mistakes to insurance mistakes to having people steal money from you to basically having an ability to pay rent, you know. But what I found in life, which really holds true, is that there is nothing that you can't get out of as long as you're willing to sit down and have that cup of coffee and explain what happened. You have to be a real bastard to try to hurt someone. Mm-hmm. Most people don't want to do that. Yeah. So when you think about it in terms of a startup, you're going to get yourself into situations which will be very testing, but as long as you keep that communication going, you'll be fine. And it's amazing that people want to help, because they do. At that point, they do. And the reality is you just have to realize that, you know, the startup is nothing more than you until it gets to the point where there's more than you. You know, the company was us up until, I think once we passed over 30 people is when I started to realize that it was changing. And then once we passed 200, it's not even me. It's its own thing. Streamline used to be attached to me. Like, it was like my blood coming out of it. But now it's, well, she's going to turn 18 years old and she needs to get the hell out of my house. You know? And that's just it. I mean, I look at it from that way. It's like I raised a child and I'm like, leave me alone. You know, like, go, because it's time. So it's whatever you need to put in your mental mind of what that is to make you feel good. But I mean, honestly, don't think too much about it. Just do it.
So I wanted to be able to make games that got beyond 4 and 5 stars, and I was really motivated. And I just started making games. And in the beginning, I made really shit games with only like 1 or 2 stars. But I felt really ambitious to go higher. And now I'm at the point where I can get 3 stars pretty easily, but I feel satisfied, and the ambition that I had before, it's not as much anymore. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, don't lose your ambition, dude.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's an obvious thing, but honestly, I'll tell you something right now. If basically getting 3 stars doesn't get you off anymore, then I think you need to play a bigger game. I think here's the thing about this. This is what's funny, is that if you know you can win just because you play because you're that good, well, then play a bigger game. I think the thing is, the challenge that you're going to run into is that if you know you're the master of the fishbowl, then jump into the lake. And if you beat the lake, jump into the ocean. But you have to do that, you know, because I can't motivate you. No one can. You have to decide to play the bigger game, which means you risk a lot more.
So how do you make the decision to?
Well, just like that. Game? You basically, you think in your head logically. You're like, well, I'm bored. Okay. Why am I bored? X, Y, and Z. Where am I not going to be bored? Over there. Then go.
All right, that's simple language I can understand.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something about this. Life is that simple. It literally is that simple. It's I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm wet, right? It's never like, it's because I don't have that Porsche or that Ferrari that really makes me feel good inside. No, you don't need any of that shit. It's just looking at it very straightforward of basically what it is that makes you happy in life and doing it. But I don't mean it in that stupid way of like, oh, do what's your passion and you'll be happy forever. Bullshit. It's the go work for whatever it is that you want. Whatever route that takes you. You seem relatively young, so freaking go adventure off somewhere and go do it. Unless you got a kid, in which case, you know, be responsible, you know.
I don't got a kid.
Well, then shit, go.
All right.
But don't populate the earth yet.
I share the idea of the passion and everything, ambition, so there's nothing wrong for me with that thing. But I share kind of a similar concern to Nathan.
Yeah.
It's
which one's Nathan? Right on, man.
Yeah,
there you are.
that guy.
Do you guys work together?
No.
Well, maybe you should. There you go.
No, it's. Actually, it's basically a simple question. I have the idea that, and we all almost work with millennials, you know, and I don't believe in
So do I.
stereotypes, but I see a kind of a pattern in millennials in being like the instant gratification. They just want to scroll to Reddit, 9gag, Facebook, whatever, and get easily distracted and stuff. And I was just wanted to ask you, because I'm gonna work with a lot of millennials, and I already do work with a millennial, and I am one.
Congratulations.
What's the best way to keep those people working? Because I don't believe they're not motivated. I just think they're distracted.
You know what's interesting about that? It's like the average age in our studio is 23 years old, right? Average
20,
age is
23?
23,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And you know what?
And that's including the guys who started, right?
Well, the guy I wish. Yeah.
Oh, no.
No,
Yeah, you said the average age.
Sorry. Yes, that is including us.
Yeah,
it means
okay,
that we're
yeah,
the old
yeah.
men,
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay.
You know, I
So you
thought,
have
you know,
people who are 18
I'm sorry.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
I got young kids. I mean,
Yeah, wow.
You know, at one point in time, I'm probably child labor. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
So exactly.
You know what I mean?
Those people,
I
how
mean,
are
they're
they
young.
working?
Well, I'll be
How
honest,
do you make
I'll be
them
honest with you,
function?
they're working because, you know what, I'll tell you, it's like you come in, it's like we go through a very rigorous process of finding people. Because you know what, dreaming of making games and playing games are two different things, and then actually making the game is even more different. So we're very, you know, throw cold water on people, you know, through our process of like, let me tell you what it's not going to be, everything you just read on the internet, so throw that shit out. But honestly, what it comes down to is that, you know, we appeal to people's sense of purpose. What is it they want to do? You know, and what we look for is, do you want to be the best at your craft? You know, whether you're a programmer, an artist, or a business developer, or a manager, it's like, do you want to be the best at this craft? And 9 times out of 10, people want to be the best at what they do. Well, then we talk about what does it mean to get there? And what that really comes down to is a real straightforward conversation their parents should have had with them, but didn't happen. And we tell them the hard, honest truth. You're probably not going to make it, but that's okay. Because you know what? We weren't supposed to make it either, but we're here. And the difference between that and those that didn't was this path. And either you can accept it and say, okay, or you can say, no, fuck off. Fine. I'm still here. You know, and I put that in that way.
So basically you filter out.
Well, we filter,
people.
but we have, you know, do you see how, you notice my conversational tone? It's pretty raw.
Yeah.
It's very clear. It's because I'm not going to hold you. I don't think you're special. I don't think that you're amazing.
No.
I think you're hardworking, and you'll prove it by doing it. That's it. Because I'm not going to sit here and do the job that dysfunctional parents have done. That is pretty much lying to their kids.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. You know, what I want is people that are willing to work. Because you know what? That's all this is. It's a cool job, but it's a job. That is it. The only difference is that I own it, and they enjoy it.
So basically what I get is you just tell them the cold hard truth.
Tell them the reality.
And then you ask them what their what they want to achieve.
Yeah, what do they
and
want to
their
achieve?
purpose.
And if what they want to achieve is in line and congruent with what we want to achieve, then we can work together.
Yeah.
But if it's like, you know, put it this way, it's like if you want to basically join a team that wins the World Cup, then you should probably go play with the Germans. If you want to be a superstar and fail as a team, then you can be part of the Dutch team. Yeah, you know what I mean. For those, you know what I mean, right? Great, you're a superstar, but it sucks when it counts.
Yeah.
When it counts. And this is what I'm saying to you is that with your business, with your studio, with your individual players, you either are a star together as a team of stars, or you're just basically a bunch of useless people. And the thing is, like, you have to be realistic about it, and you don't have to make it sound good, because you know what? Again, that's what life does for people. It makes it sound beautiful. Don't. Tell it exactly like it is. That's what I love about Holland, is that it's so blunt that you're just like, fuck, you know? But do that, because that's what it takes.
Okay.
That's what success will look like.
Okay. No, it's clear for me.
And you guys really should talk to each other, because if you guys are having the same problems, that means you guys have found something.
I know this guy.
Well, this is the thing. That means that you guys are on the same thread.
Unfortunately,
of
I know
string.
this guy as well.
Well, this is the thing. You're on the same like.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Finding someone who basically can say, "I have the exact same problem you have," that is the hardest fucking thing to do. But that's where it starts. Is because you're like, "Holy shit, I see the same problem you see."
Yeah.
Join forces and learn to share, guys. Let me just be honest with all of you. Sharing. Share. Because you don't need it all. You really don't. That's the other part of this. We shared with ourselves and everyone else. Sharing is caring. What do you know? It actually works. It's like a Care Bear book. They're now on Netflix too, by the way. So I just saw that, so I'm like, huh.
Oh, beautiful.
Anyway, beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
No worries, no problem. No worries. Oh, go ahead. Hi.
My name is Dan.
Hey, Dan. Nice to meet
I
you, man.
saw a video of you
Yeah.
where you were explaining your hiring process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I thought it was interesting to hear from you that education is not important at all.
Well, it's not important to us. Yes. Not that
Yeah, so
important.
for your company,
Absolutely.
you're not asking about their
No.
education, just if they want to be the best.
Yeah.
So now go back to the Dutch team and the German team.
Yeah.
So who's the best?
You know what? I'll be honest with you on that one. I think it comes down to a sense of what you want to root for. But honestly, for me, I like winning. I want to win.
Exactly. So, but if you have the people that are the best, it doesn't mean that they can cooperate as a team, right?
Exactly. That's the
So
point.
how do you manage to get them into your company to work as a team?
That's a good, very good point. So here's the thing. We don't go after hiring the best people from the standpoint of someone coming up to me saying, I'm the best. We hire people that have talent, that are willing to work hard to get themselves to the point where they know that being the best means working as a team. So in that video, and that specifically that piece right there, the entire concept of what we look for is, do you have an aptitude to learn? Meaning, can you pick something up that you don't know? And are you willing to study on your own? Are you willing to accept the fact that maybe you're not that great, but you can be great if you work with someone else? And are you willing to communicate with someone? Because in the end of the day, that's what teamwork is. None of these games are made by anyone by themselves. And you know, whatever bullshit we read on the internet, oh, one guy made blah, blah. No, he didn't. He didn't. Whether it was someone who helping him open the door or that person that encouraged them, there's always been a group of people around someone to help someone get to somewhere.
Yeah.
And in the case of games, in the case of this company, it started off with 4, now it's 238. That's what it took to get here. So, and that's the people that are still hired there. If I go through the numbers of people who've passed through the doors, it's probably close to 1,000 people now just to get to this point. So I think what it comes down to for us is that you look for the person who's willing to and accepting of the fact that you need other people. You can't do it alone.
I understand. So what is the average period a person works for Streamline Studios?
It depends. I mean, I have people there now that have been there for 7 years. I have people that have been there for 12 years. I got some guys that have been there 17 years. It depends, you know. It depends on what stage it was in. Let's say like this, probably say in the last 3-year period of time, probably the average is going on 6.
Is it a big thing for you to keep the team together or to make sure that they
I
don't
think-
leave you before you want them to leave?
No, to be honest with you, it's more like this, is that I think it's a big thing to make sure that you have the right people working together. So we look at it from that standpoint that there's pragmatism, where it's like, I want everyone to be happy, but happiness needs to contribute towards the overall goal. If people aren't happy, then they should go.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm not, I'm going to say this, it's not Never Never Land, you know what I mean? We do get old, and I just don't have the tolerance for bullshit anymore. I just don't. You know, it's like either it works or it doesn't.
I'm ancient.
Well,
Probably I'm older than you.
Yeah, I have
so-
no idea, sir. But you know what? It's like you can tell me over beers, though.
I
you
will,
know,
I will.
You know, the thing is like this. Like, I mean, look. Here's the thing: is that it's just a very straightforward thing. I think that when it comes to people and it comes to team settings, it's very important that everyone is honest about where they're at. And sometimes people outgrow you. Sometimes they don't. But the reality is that if we have a direction we're going together on, we will continue to grow with each other. But sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that's okay.
Okay,
You know?
thank you.
Yeah, before we head to the booth,
Yeah, no worries.
I'd like to thank you for sharing all your
Yeah,
stuff.
man. Thank you very much
Really,
for having
really
me.
inspiring and really pragmatic. So thank
Yeah,
you for
well, you know, I'll tell you one thing. I'll promise you one thing. Pragmatism. I learned that in Holland.
that. So something to be proud of. Somewhere,
Oh, well,
right?
no, of course. Hey, I love my time here. Honestly, like this. Like, I actually got asked this question if what I miss. And the thing is with this, like, I loved every minute of being here. It was a great time, and you guys are very lucky. For those that are born here, congratulations. For those of you that moved over here, make the best out of it, because it can be whatever you need it to be. You know, but I think the key thing here is that in life, you have to grab your opportunities. But no one can do that for you. You have to decide to do it for yourself. So take it for what it's worth. So thank you. And I had no idea this was going to turn into this type of session, but thank you for having me.
I thought it was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.